like in any aspect, the organization is doing pretty well. There's a point that any player needs to take full responsibility if you want to be a better player, if you want to get better opportunities, if you want to have better contracts, if you want to become a DP, if you want to get into national teams, if you want to go to Europe. It's just ambition, and that's something that if you don't have it in there, you need to try to find it and seek it. And I'm speaking by myself too, because that's what I want to do. I'm giving my everything in this passion, in this profession, in this sport that I love so much. So we all need to do that. We all need to do that. It doesn't matter if I score goals or I don't score goals. I'm not a hero. I'm not the guy who blame. The only thing is I would love people to understand that it's about the process, it's about the passion, it's about the giving the effort. Then the soccer is very, I don't know how to say this in English, but if you give your all, the football, soccer is going to give you back so many stuff. That's what my granddad and my dad teach me since I was a kid. So that's something that you don't learn in books and in trainings. You need to have that passion, to have that desire. In the end, we are humans, and in the end, of course, it's competition, but
Los Angeles, and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Coming to you on Thursday, September 16th, the LA Galaxy getting a disappointing 1-1 draw against the Houston Dynamo on Wednesday night. That was just last night as we're recording. We're going to talk about that game. You just heard from Chicharito. He sounds fired up. Maybe the rest of the team will get fired up as well. We'll talk a whole bunch about what he said, what Vanny said, what all the guys sort of said after this. We'll have some audio from that to play as well. We have some fun games we're going to get around to. And, of course, we got to get you ready for Minnesota. LA Galaxy traveling to Minnesota. Never lost to Minnesota in the history of the franchise. Let's jinx it now and get it out of the way. LA Galaxy, Minnesota this Saturday. We're going to talk about that game, get you ready for that as well. To help me do it, he's back. It's the Hammer himself, Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. Glad to be back. It's a draw, so it's always interesting to come back. A draw at home. Point on the road, maybe you come back a little more fired up, but a draw at home, a little bit of a different buzz coming into it, not as amped up as maybe I would have liked to have been. But again, we're talking Galaxy soccer on a Thursday night. Doesn't get much better than that.
I mean, it is nice. I actually, I'm catching a flight over to Colorado early tomorrow morning, go hang out with my oldest. So that'll be fun doing that. But I'm also sort of like there's no more home games to watch in September. Like I realize that, and I think everybody realizes that. And having said all that and do it's kind of scary. 10 games left for the LA Galaxy. They do not have a playoff position locked up. They're in a good spot. I'm not going to say they're not in a good spot. And even as they are winless now in 5, let's see, they haven't won in the last 3 games that they've played at home. Even as we say all those things, the Galaxy have treaded water very nicely in where they're at. They haven't dropped too much. They've come back to the pack ever so slightly, but the points aren't horrible. It's just... It's disappointing. It's a missed opportunity. Greg Vanny said it, and that's, I think everybody has to feel about that, right?
Yeah. Greg Vanny, I think he heard the fans saying we want 3 points. And I think there was a little miscommunication because he said, well, I got 3 points. It was, a draw, and a draw. And there's your 3 points. But, so they went about it in a little bit of a different way. So, 3 points, not great. We talked about it last week. When I looked at the September schedule, I wasn't as hopeful. But I also think back on August, and I said my kind of prediction on how that was going to go. And they went 2-2-2, and they kind of split it. And the way they got those 2 wins weren't what I expected. But at the end of the day, getting those 2 wins worked out. So I think the draw at home against Houston maybe wasn't what a lot of people wanted. Obviously wasn't what a lot of people wanted, but maybe with this road trip that's coming up, maybe they'll end up sneaking some points on the road. So maybe they'll get those points eventually, just not in the way that, it was drawn up in the way it was supposed to go. So we'll see how it goes, but it is going to be a tough road for the rest of September because there's 3 road games that are going to be happening here, and a few of them are in quick succession. So we'll see how it goes. Good luck to the Galaxy. Chicharito, it's funny with that opening, and there were some people already in the chat. They're like, it's like he's speaking directly to me. So right. Chicharitos, I could hear his voice. So he sounds more frustrated than inspired. I think some people could take that as inspiring, but you can tell like it's under his skin. Like he knows that they could be doing better, and so I see why people get fired up because of that. But there's a frustration level that almost feels like a 2020 Chicharito, which I know we did we agree never to speak of that season again, but those are just some of the vibes that I'm picking up.
It's funny. Actually, Chicha put me on blast. I had the first question to him, and he came after me pretty hard. I'll play it for you. It's funny. He doesn't, and I understand what he's saying, and he's absolutely correct about it. But we'll cover that as well. Let's get to just a couple notes, some things that we're gonna be doing on here. First of all, shout out to Carter. Carter actually reached out to me. He's a listener of the show. His dad is a listener of the show. So big shout out to Scott as well. Carter is at college in Chapman, or at Chapman in college. That's where my high school girlfriend ended up going to, by the way. So I don't like that school at all. So I didn't tell you that, Carter, but I just wanted to tell you that.
I'll say there's a COG After Dark explanation coming down the road.
You don't want to get into that one. So anyway, Carter interviewed me for a class that he's taking. It was tons of fun. I enjoyed it. And he says that his dad, even though Carter's at school and so he's away from his dad and doesn't get to hang out with him as much, his dad will send him episodes of our podcast and be like, no, listen to this one. So Scott, we appreciate you much more than we appreciate Carter. Absolutely, you're keeping him listening. All right, you're driving our listenership perfectly. No, but a big shout out to Carter and Scott. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And they started to be season ticket holders. I always feel bad for people. They started season ticket holders in 2014, so they got the cup. And then they've been then it just nosedived. I mean, 2015 was okay. I guess 2016 was okay, but yeah.
And I will say, if they started in 2014, then that paid for itself. I mean, it worked out.
It's better than starting in 2017.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or the people who joined after the Zlatan years and like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
Or started the year of a pandemic. That might be a bad year to start those season tickets. But shout out to you, Scott. Shout out to Carter. We appreciate whenever anyone shares the show. And again, the story of a father and son bonding over the Galaxy, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So whenever I hear it happens to others as well, it warms my heart. So shout out to you, Carter and Scott.
Carter didn't say that his dad was saying like, hey, Carter, listen to these morons talk about the Galaxy. We could do this. Let's start our own podcast. Yeah. That's a good idea too. So we have that. We are also we have 2 games we're going to play today. 2 games. I don't know if you know this, but through 13 seasons of doing this, that sometimes like the same old formula does get a little formulaic. So let's change it up and have some fun. So we're going to play 2 games. We're going to play our Wikipedia guessing game that we played and sort of introed to you last time. So that'll come up here a little bit later. And so get your guesses ready in the chat room. And then also I want to say that if you're listening on the podcast, go ahead and send us an email with any of your guesses whenever we do this. And because the next one will involve your participation, but send in an email and I'll try to send out some stickers and stuff like that. So we'll start to keep that going. We are working on getting our phone line back up as well. So eventually we're going to be taking your calls here. I just don't know if I can trust any of you to not swear on my show. So I'm still going back and forth on that. I don't have a dump button, and I enjoy putting these on YouTube. We'll figure it out. I trust you enough.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
We got to monetize, get those quarters rolling in each month. So we can't risk we can't risk a live mic and things going wrong. But we would love to hear from you. I do enjoy taking calls.
I know, and we have the voicemail line that's still out there too that we haven't used, and like there's some ways to do this that won't kill me whenever it comes to editing. So we're gonna do that, but we're gonna play a secret word game. All right, this is one that actually Mike Arajo sort of kicked off and shouted and said, "Were you guys like?" And he was talking about our Monday show when Kevin Baxter and I said "pupusas" approximately 7 million times, and it was not anything. He's like, "Were you guys like trying to see how many times you could say pupusas in a single show?" And I said, that would be kind of fun. Like maybe we could have a secret word like between the. And I was trying to figure out how to do it. So very easily here, we will play the secret word game. Now, here's the deal. Eric and I know what the secret word is. You do not know what the secret word is. And so what we're going to do is Eric and I will use the secret word throughout the show, and it's your job to try and guess what our secret word is. All right. So that's I think does that sound like
for those of you of a certain age who are familiar with Pee-wee's Playhouse, the secret word game, should ring a bell. There's a secret word, and whenever someone catches it and notices what that secret word is, we'll hit the siren, we'll make a lot of noise, we'll make a big to-do about it, but we are going to try to hit a specific word. We're going to try not to make it obvious, but you should notice an uptake on a specific word. So we'll see how it goes. Like you said, sometimes you get the same old formula. Nice to spice things up and try to get things going. So I'm looking forward to see how this goes.
Feel the Berm already has a joke in. The secret word is short corner. Not the secret word, unfortunately, but a very good one. We should talk about. Although in this game there were some long corners. I don't know if anybody expected that, but there were some long. What do we call those? Normal corners? I don't know. Whenever I was asking Greg,
regular corners.
I'm like normal corners, Greg. I don't know what they're called. Regular corners, the long ones, not the short ones. I don't know. There's
corners as they're expected.
Yeah. Marvin, by the way, says secret word is graphs already. Not there. So anyway, we will continue on and go with the show. I just wanted to let you guys know that stuff is coming. We'll play the Wikipedia guessing game after we talk about the LA Galaxy versus the Houston Dynamo. Eduardo gave us a $5 super chat, and he says the secret word is guess, and your guess is incorrect. So thank you for playing along.
Nice try.
You guys might want to actually just let us get into this a little bit. I wouldn't jump the gun.
Guessing before we go, it might not turn out well. So and if we have to pause every 2 seconds, that might not be it's not going to be great audio either.
Traditional corners, by the way, is
I like that.
I feel the Berm. Do we traditional? I don't know. That feels a little like biased towards the short corners or way. I don't know. It feels like this is untraditional. Yeah, I don't like the negative connotation on that. All right, LA Galaxy, Houston Dynamo. This is a game. The Galaxy clearly wanted 3 points. Greg Vanney wanted 3 points. The team wanted 3 points, although it would be very unclear if you were looking at that and say, sort of how they played in that first half. I think everybody expected that there would be 3 points from this game. Dallas, I was going to say, all those teams are
all
just
blends
the same.
together.
Yeah, the Houston. I'm going to say this. Let's start with some of the disclaimers at the beginning, right? And the disclaimers at the beginning that I have to put out are that this Houston team played much better than they have been playing. They played well against Austin as well. This is a progression for them. And guess what? Sometimes sucky teams stop sucking, Eric. And Houston played well. Greg Vanney acknowledged that. They did, and the Galaxy gifted them a 1-goal lead in the first half to allow them to sit back and be compact and not have to be adventurous about a whole bunch of things. So there's things we can look at. Now, you can say, last place team, this is almost the last place team in the Western Conference, you should beat them. And I agree 100%. But let's not pretend like Houston is a bad team, and we talk so much that there's like these little percentage points that really are the good teams and the bad teams, and on any single given day, you can see that from here. And for me, Houston was I think solid defensively, good on their blocks, really forced the LA Galaxy. They had a higher expected goals. So there was so many things that you could look at and say, yes, Houston played well. Having said all of those things, the Galaxy screwed this game up. They should have won. They should have come out with a little more fire in their belly, and however you want to say it. It wasn't heart. They wanted to win, but certainly, I don't know, unease, tentativeness. What did you see, Eric, just from the overall game?
I saw a lot of what you're explaining. So that first half, it seems like it's almost like they overlooked it. Like they looked at it and said, this Houston team is not coming in hot, and this is our chance to easily kind of, get that expected win, but it's not what ended up happening. And so I like what you're saying about how, Houston didn't play horrible, and you look at the players. I think Fafa Picault is someone who is a good player. Darwin Quintero. These are all players who are talented players. So I think with the parity in MLS, you're right. On any given night, sometimes weeknights are weird, Wednesdays are weird stuff happens. So on any given night, yes, a bottom feeder team can cause a surprise. But to everyone's point, if they're going to stay in that home playoff race, you need to beat the teams that are below you. If you're going to draw against Colorado, that's fine. Colorado's on a hot streak. Playing Seattle, playing Sporting Kansas City, those are kind of the class of the Western Conference. So if you're going to drop points against them, fine. But when you're playing bottom dwellers, you need to kind of take care of business, and that's your opportunity to get those points. That's where you make your money. So it was a missed opportunity. And where it gets a little bit confusing, and it's kind of counterintuitive, is you're right. Because Houston got the first goal, the Galaxy went down early, then the possession swung in the Galaxy's favor in a huge way. And that's not to say that the Galaxy, because when you look at other games, the Galaxy don't normally control tons of possession. That's not really kind of how they've won a lot of their games. When they've been successful, it's not through holding possession. So it kind of went to prove in this game that when they held a lot of possession, they still struggled. They couldn't capitalize on their chances. The good news is they created lots of chances, but Houston was kind of sitting back and letting them attack and kind of just forcing the issue where the Galaxy needed to create. And unfortunately, they just couldn't. I'm not going to say they couldn't create, because they created. They couldn't finish. I think as disappointing as this game was, I don't think you can look at it and say, oh, this is their worst game of the season. They lost to a last place team. This is a lower level team, but they played well on the night. So give Houston a little bit of credit. But at the same time, the Galaxy didn't finish. The chances were there. So obviously, for chances to be there, they had to play well to a certain degree. So I think they played well in moments, and they had spurts where they were dominating, and you just felt like the second goal was going to come in those last 10 minutes. I mean, if a goal happened in the last 10 minutes, I would not have been shocked. But so you can't say that they played badly. We could have expected them to play better, but I don't think you could say they played badly. They probably should have done just a little bit better.
There were some individual performances certainly in that first half. Let's get you the lineup. Chicharito started up top. You had Grant Sierra on the left, Efrain Alvarez out on the right-hand side, Victor Vasquez and Jonathan Dos Santos in the center, backed up by Ravellison. And then you had Hamalainen out left, Steres and Koulibaly in the center of defense, Araujo on the right-hand side, Jonathan Klinsmann in. So you had Dan Steres, who was technically in for the injured Derek Williams with a groin injury, and then Jonathan Klinsmann got the start because of a low-grade quad strain to Jonathan Bond. On the whole, Klinsmann did just fine. Had actually some good plays, some little things there. Was not tested a whole bunch, actually, but some of the chances that Houston certainly should have scored on, they didn't. And they didn't capitalize. And you could say that it could have been 2 or 3-0 to Houston. And even though the expected goals sort of put that in the 1.5 range, and we'll certainly go over it, you could see that Houston was right on the edge. And again, this is something we've seen from the Galaxy, though, Eric, which is give up a goal and then have to press, but also leave yourself open on counters because you're having to cheat forward because you're trying to press for that. The individual performances on this night that I thought were rather poor, especially in the first half. I don't think you can look at that midfield and tell me that any one of those there's 5 players in the midfield technically with Grant Sear out on the left-hand side, but say that he played just fine and he was at least the one who I think was up to tempo. I
was going to say, I know where you were going and saying, who could you point out from that midfield? And I think you nailed it. Grant Sear was the one who you can point out from the midfield who played decent enough. I think he gave you the elements of the game that you want to see. He had the speed, he was crashing, he was creating, havoc there. I think he did his job on the night. But, when you look at some of the other individual players, I know we were talking about the team in general, but when you talk about individual performances, Efrain Alvarez didn't have it. Marvin mentioned in the chat, and they couldn't connect simple short passes, and that was kind of the story of the night. The same with Jonathan Dos Santos. They just they weren't connecting those simple passes. They were a little bit sloppy on the night. I mentioned that they need to tighten it up. A tweet that I sent out was they looked like a Rubik's Cube, where you see the stickers there, you see all the colors, it's how it's supposed to go, but you just keep turning it and it just never lined up. And so that's what they looked like to me. They just looked disjointed. They didn't look like they were in rhythm at all. And so I know we'll talk about what's the best starting 11, and I think Greg may be tinkering and figuring out which pairings work together, and the pairing that was starting yesterday did not work. It's not a pairing that I think I want to see out there, if the Galaxy are going to walk away with 3 points.
Yeah, the bottom line for me was I thought Alvarez had one of his worst games that I've seen him play maybe this year, and maybe it's because the expectations for what he's able to do have been raised so much, so I'll keep that in mind. But the simple passes, the little touch passes where he was just trying to get it around a player, he must have failed 4 or 5 or 6 times, especially early in that half. And not only is that a problem, and listen, Vasquez had some problems with that as well. Jonathan Dos Santos had some problems with that. But the problem is when those guys give up the ball in the position that they're at in the middle of the field, or whenever you're snuffing out an attack where how many times did Araujo overlap around Efrain Alvarez, and Alvarez doesn't find him? Now Araujo's press forward, and now Alvarez has to end up playing defense, which we know it's not his strong suit. So things cascade downward very quickly, and you put the Galaxy on counterattacks.
And what the passes looked like to me from Efrain and from Vasquez and Dos Santos on the night, they looked like they were going for like the highlight, kind of a cute pass. And it's like, keep it simple, put it in space, put it to the outside, put it on someone's feet. Don't try to, dink it over a cleat, or try to go through a defender's legs. There's the KISS strategy. Keep it simple. So I think that was the issue. And you're exactly right with Julian. If you're trying to give him, this little one-time pass and make it look flashy, it's not going to do you any good when Julian's making the run and now he has to track back and it leaves behind. So yeah, I agree. Just they were not sharp on the night. Not the best performance from that midfield.
Yeah. The Inquisitor in the chat room says the Galaxy look like they're not being well coached. Says that Vanny says the same thing after every game, but there's no discernible improvement. Listen, I understand that you want to go after the coach in this. There's 0 issues that I have with this starting lineup, by the way. I don't have any issues. If you look at this, and before the game I was like, that's perfectly reasonable. I have no problems with it. I understand Leggett needing a bit of a blow and a rest whenever he's coming back. I understand, Cabral being on the bench for the first time, really, and Grandsir has started there, so I understand inverting that and giving Cabral a little bit. All of these things to me make sense, and I had no issues with it. And it's not like they put anybody in a position where they were playing out of position. I mean, you could argue that Alvarez is not a winger. That has been a thing, but we know that he has been played at that wing, and we've seen him have success at that wing.
He's had good halves as a starter playing on that wing, and I think to everyone's point, this is a lower on the West team. I keep wanting to say in the last place, but they weren't in last place.
Second to last.
Yeah, second to last place team. So if you're going to rotate at home, this is who you rotate against. You're not going to put your A++ lineup against a team on midweek when you have to go away on the weekend. This is where you throw in, Alvarez, and you give Leggett a rest, you give Cabral a rest, because on paper, you're supposed to be able to handle this team with a little bit of a depleted lineup. So, had they played well, that would have worked out. But I think what happens sometimes, Efrain can have a bad game. Dos Santos can have a bad game. Vasquez can be off. He's usually been on this season. It's probably one of the first times that he had like just a rough game in general. But when the combination of all 3 of them are not clicking, or all 3 of them are off, then you can't make up for it. And that's where you end up losing. If one player's off, you can work around it and maybe overcome that adversity. But when you have 3, 4 players, 5 players who are off on the night, it's not going to work out for you. So when you consider that, a point's actually great, because Houston had chances, and someone said a goal either way wouldn't have been surprising either. So had they lost that, I made the joke in the text chat, and I, like you jinxed it, never lost against Minnesota. I always make the joke whenever we play our old players, and I saw Ari Lassiter, the goal puppy, subbed on. I was like, great, has 90+2 Ari Lassiter. I see that happening. So thankfully, I say it out loud just to do the reverse jinx so it doesn't happen. But, thankfully, all things considered, a lot of players having a bad night, still walking away with a point. we'll take it. Here I am celebrating a draw at home to the second to last place team. Here's your COG spin zone, not tearing apart the team when they should have won.
No, I mean, listen, there's no excuse. And again, I look at this and I say that, the one person who I expected to not play very well didn't play very well, and that's Jonathan Dos Santos. He just has not been good this year. We talk about him playing himself out of a contract, which certainly seems like it probably already happened. I'll be honest with you. We know that the Galaxy were supposed to talk to Jonathan Dos Santos this month. This month is now halfway over. There's probably a pretty good chance that they already talked to him this month about what his future is.
Yeah.
And even if they haven't, he can't be sitting there going, oh yeah, I definitely earned a contract for the Galaxy this year. I mean, he has to know that about it. He has to feel that. He has to know where it is. But, he was fired up in this game. He tried his slide tackling. That's usually whenever he's feeling it, but there's nothing there. And we're going to show you numbers that show that there's been nothing there for most of this year from Jonathan Dos Santos. If he's supposed to be a defensive midfielder and he has, a Ryan right behind him, and that means he can be more box to box. He should be getting more involved in the offense. And quite honestly, the Galaxy did have chances in this game. One of them was Jonathan Dos Santos in missing a ball that rolled out to the top of the box that is like on a platter for anybody to hit. And he missed the post by 4 yards. Maybe not 4 feet. It was definitely 4 feet, a yard and some change.
And he was inside the box. And that's something we've seen him scored against LAFC that way. He scored against Minnesota United that way. We've seen him do that. And so to have him off target, it wasn't great. And so you're right about it hanging over his head. He wasn't doing what he was expected to do. And it just makes you think like, okay, he knows over his head might not be coming back. So I mentioned we're heading into like 2016 Stevie G, Robbie Keane territory, where you're going to end up in a playoff situation and you're going to have a designated player on the bench. That's kind of how rough it's been for Jonathan Dos Santos. It seems like when we talk about best 11s, like he's on his way out of a best 11. Not just not getting a contract back, but he's doesn't look like he is deserving of playing time when he's out on the field.
Yeah. By the way, Daniel, and I appreciate this, Daniel. Daniel, thank you for the $5 super chat. He's guessing, as have many people in the chat room guessed, that our secret word is twiddly dinks. Is that how you twiddly?
I think it's supposed to be
twiddly dinks. Twiddly dinks. Yes, twiddly dinks. Don't worry, that's not it.
That doesn't look right. I don't think that's right.
No.
But that's what they're typing. But not it.
No, not it.
Not the word.
That would have been fun though. We should try. We should do one.
That's too obvious. Though.
I know.
Like,
that's why
we don't say that a lot. Yeah.
I just think what's expected of us is just they like expect twiddly dinks or twiddly winks or whatever it is. Yeah, no, not it.
It's not going to be what you expected. Don't worry.
By the way, I want to get to Beto though, because Beto thinks that that we're protecting Sebastian Lletget in this game. That for some reason Beto watched this game and said Sebastian Lletget is let's see, we need to start Saldana and Raveloson. Look at the numbers and stop defending Sebastian Lletget and Jonah, and also says stop defending Du Bois, the social media diva. If you watched that game, Beto, and said that Sebastian Lletget didn't come in and have a supreme effect on the game, then you were watching a different game than me. Quite honestly, Sebastian Lletget should have had the winning assist in this game. Chicharito missed the best chance the LA Galaxy had all night, and that includes his goal. His goal had a less percentage chance of going in than the one that he missed in the 88th minute whenever Sebastian Lletget peeled off and put a right-footed cross back right to Chicha's head, and he missed it. He hit it over the head, or he hit it over the bar with his head. So, no, it's I can't sit there, and we're going to show you. By the way, we're going to show you numbers that says that Sebastian Lletget should be on the field for this as well.
Yeah, I'll co-sign. He seemed, when you talk about the midfield not being in sync with Efrain, Dos Santos, and Vasquez not clicking, I think a player that was missing was Lletget. So I know Lletget gets a lot of flack for that very reason. It sounds like he's saying because he's the pretty boy, he's the social media guy. I think that he's just disliked amongst a lot of circles and U.S. men's national teams on a lot of circles, but he delivers on the men's national team level, and I think he's a serviceable LA Galaxy player. He did his job. When he came in off the bench, he did exactly what he was supposed to do, and he's exactly what was missing.
Larry Morgan also in on this, guessing tiddlywinks.
I didn't get the Larry text.
You didn't get the Larry text. Tiddlywinks for there. No, not tiddlywinks. Not it. So that's it. No, I had zero problems with Sebastian Lletget. I thought that he was very active in this game. I thought that he was dangerous. He came in with energy. He provided what he was supposed to provide. I'll tell you who I thought was really interesting in exploiting space in this game was Nico Hämäläinen. on the left-hand side. How many times did you see him breaking runs inside and not down the line? I mean, he was living on the interior of the Houston Dynamo's sort of left flank there for most of the game, which is a really interesting spot to put an outside back, right? Julian Araujo will usually have, chalk on his boots from hitting the line on the outside, and Nico Hamalainen usually goes that route as well. But Houston was like, no, go ahead and cut inside. So he was exploiting space whenever Vasquez would move more into the middle and shift in the middle. There was space that was opening up, and Nico Hamalainen would come in there. Now, I would like to see a little bit better finish. He had a shot from one of those positions at one point. But
he's a defender.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things that you can look at and see what Nico Hamalainen can do from that position. I like that. I would like to see Julian Araujo find that space sometimes, but you need somebody like Alvarez, if he's going to be there, to slide in. By the way, Will guess $5 super chat, bang bang cowboy, not it.
How do you figure out my nickname since I've been out here?
Yeah, exactly. that's exactly
what they call me.
Where's your cowboy hat? Yeah,
it's here. I got it set up. But going back to Hamalainen, I think I like what he's brought, and especially with Vanny kind of hinting at a 3-5. I'm going to mess it all up. 3-5-2 or 3-5-2-1. Yeah, that's correct.
8,
whatever.
9, 10. You need 10. Just remember.
Add it up.
Yeah.
But with that hint, I think Hamalainen brings a little more of that attacking piece than Villafaña brings, and so I like what he's brought. But when you talk about players coming off the bench, I'll let you jump in.
That's it. I mean, for me, he's the perfect guy to come in off the bench, right? Hamalainen, and it's because he has the speed. It's because he can press and he can move people. That's why I think maybe Hamalainen comes in now. Okay, get through this thing. By the way, I need to go over this. This is important for me. It's important for my sanity, and it's important, I think, for everybody's. There were several referee mistakes in this game. Several. Kevin Stott ended up handing out 5 yellow cards to Houston, but he probably could have handed out maybe 2 or 3 more. There was one really big one that they missed, and that was the foul on Chicharito. Chicharito was absolutely fouled at halftime, right outside the box.
Okay. And it was a late challenge.
It was a late challenge. He got the ball, late challenge, full studs right into his calf. There's borderline red. You're not going to, because he got the ball and he was falling through. But it's super dangerous. That's a foul. And VAR can't look at it because it's not there. But that's a serious foul. That's at least a yellow card. And that's something that you can look at and say, okay. That should have been called. Half. Yeah, and everybody was saying, well, can they go back and look at it and correct it during the? I'm like, no, they can't. It's done. The half is over. They walked away. The play is done. So that was one that got missed. And Chicharito got fouled hard several times in this game. And I don't think Stott issued 5 yellow cards. He didn't do enough to protect some of these players. Cabral got fouled a couple times. That type of thing. Yeah, so that was one of the big ones. Go ahead.
The Cabral foul to me was a more egregious one. I think we've talked about Cabral, and when we talk about players coming off the bench, he's another one of the players in addition to Leggett who looked great off the bench yesterday. So I think some of that pressure when he's not starting and the expectation isn't there, then he can come in and really create a lot of chaos, and that's what he did. And I thought he did a great job of that. So I thought he had a good game yesterday. But we've also been on Cabral because, he probably needs to bulk up a little bit. He isn't as physical, so that makes it a little trickier. He kind of gets bossed by some of these defenders. So that play in the box towards the end when he just got completely bodied, no play on the ball whatsoever, and he essentially got, a forearm shiver or he got hit sticked. He got like in Madden, shoulder.
Yeah, he got shouldered between the breastplate inside the box. It's a penalty kick.
It's a clear and obvious penalty inside the box. And so if you want to argue shoulder to shoulder 50-50 ball, he's not physical enough, and that's on him. This one was not on him. I don't if he was a little bit bigger, maybe he wouldn't have gone flying as much, but it still makes it a foul. And if a player who's maybe a little bit larger in size falls down because of that bump, I think maybe you see a penalty. But because Cabral is a little, a little lighter and went flying a little easier, it maybe just looked like a shoulder to shoulder 50-50 ball, and that's why it wasn't called. But when you watch the replay, no play on the ball, just completely taken out. That was more egregious to me than the Chicharito one.
The only thing you can argue in that play, and VAR should have looked at this and should have agreed that this was something that they missed, right? And quite honestly, I expected it to be called. is that Cabral was out of control. If Cabral's out of control and he runs into the guy, then you got to say, okay, he wasn't. But he wasn't. He was in control.
Yeah.
He had the ball. He was going to go around somebody, and he got taken out. So that's something I wanted to make sure I got there. Then you had the linesman who missed 2 plays in a row on the near side. She missed a throw-in that went off 2 Houston players before it went out of bounds, and it was right on top of her, so it was difficult. But they all stood there and just decided not to do anything. That was late in the game. It turned it around. And then the offside on Sebastian Lletget was not an offside. He takes the corner, the ball goes in, the ball comes back out, right? It goes off a Houston player and then ricochets off of a Galaxy player and then finds...
Yeah, that
Lletget,
one was surprising.
That's not it.
It's not like he wasn't hanging out on the corner, and so that's something that there's usually when the players kind of drift into space, that happens. But I agree, the Araujo was pretty upset about that throw-in not going his way, the offside call, especially late in the game, that has an impact on the game. But I also want to highlight what Super is saying in the chat. He says it's not about the ref. We sucked. And at the end of the day, that's
correct. Yeah, and we talked about that before we even started.
Yeah, the ref should not have had an impact on this game. The Galaxy should have had their chances. With the referee mistakes, they still had chances to put it away, and they didn't. So it is on the Galaxy, but it is fair 100%. To point out sometimes you need a little bit of luck. Sometimes you need that. We didn't get those chances that we expected, but the soccer gods smiled on us because we got that penalty because we deserve to win at the end of the day anyway. So sometimes you need those calls to go your way, but I agree the chances were there without them, so you can't blame the refs on this one. Where there are some games where you could say, man, the refs really let us have it, and gave it to us. But this was not the case on this game.
Second half, everybody got what they wanted, right? I mean, this is the thing that everybody's been clamoring for. When is Joveljic and Chicharito? When are they going to play up together? They did. Joveljic gets the assist. He puts the ball into a beautiful cross, a beautiful looping cross. I usually hate looping crosses because I don't think they have enough power on them to do anything. And then, for the love of everything that is holy, Chicharito should have never in his wildest dreams thought about heading that ball. That was one that was like, that's going to put you in the grave. And that is absolutely one where you sit there and say, this is how you get hurt in soccer games. And boy, did he ever put his head into it and ended up scoring. Unbelievable goal whenever you think about it. By the way, the expected goals on that was very low. It was like like a 6 or 7 or 8%. It was like it shouldn't have gone in.
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna talk about some his chances he had later that were easier than that chance. So that one, how he got up in the air and kind of, he went head to head when we talked about Cabral being easily bumped off the ball.
Right.
Chicharito basically bodied that defender. I like that the LA Galaxy admin, the account posted, he dunked on him. And that's what it was. It was essentially, going straight to the rim and dunking on a player. That's the exact corollary to what he did. And another thing that I liked about it is you can tell Joveljic is excited to play with Chicharito because he was like, do the celebration. He was like giving him the Guesman, the hotline bling. So you can tell that he's like pumped up to play alongside Chicharito. So if you take that little kernel from it, it was exciting to see them on the field together. I think there's a bright future with those two.
Yeah, it's always it was fun. So I like that. Greg Vanny talked about it. Said he sees something there. Chicharito talked about it as well and says he says Joveljic has all the tools. He wants to be good. He wants to make a difference. The whole deal. I'm going to argue that you can't start this formation, and you certainly can't start this formation on the road. But it is a formation that looks, and Greg Vanny said, listen, we haven't had a whole bunch of times to do this. We haven't had a whole bunch of training to go about it. He goes, you don't want to go out there on the field and try to work it out during a game. He goes, but, what are we going to do? We don't have any training time to do this. So he's like, you could see it, the whole thing. I just don't think if you want to be married to that formation, you're not going to be married to that formation right now.
It's not like they're out there playing twiddly dinks with each other,
Now you're just trolling the chat room because we already told you that's not the word. So anyway, it's a ton of fun. Sort of looking at that and seeing it. Now, I will also say this. If you are sitting there and arguing that Chicharito had the best game ever, he also missed the Galaxy's best chance. We talked about it, the Sebastian Lletget cross in the 88th minute. That's a goal. That should be a goal almost every time. He had space. He got to the ball. Somebody said that he was off balance. I watched it again. He's not off balance. He had everything
He got the timing wrong. He mistimed his jump, but the space was there. The ball was perfect, but he mistimed the jump when he should do better, especially when his goal, he maybe had no business getting to that, and he timed the jump perfectly and hit the go-go gadget, cleats and got up there. But for that second one, he didn't need to do much, and he just flubbed his line when it mattered.
Yeah, yeah. It was one of those, but we saw that against Colorado as well, right? We saw him miss one inside the box against Colorado. He put over the bar. So I mean, again, a little bit of 2020 Chicharitos creeping in to 2021 Chicharito, but at the same time, this is a guy who has some very good numbers, who you need on the field. If you're going to win, Chicharito is going to be one of the reasons that you're going to win this stuff, these games, and you have to. I mean, he's expected to score goals. He has 11 on the year so far. You have to do it, and it's one of those things. Keep feeding him, even if he keeps missing. I mean, Cabral is kind of the same way. Keep feeding him, even if he's missing. But you gotta feed Chicha.
Yeah, and you need to get him back in form, and that was one thing that I was a little bit disheartened after the Colorado game, because it did look like a 2020 Chicharito where, you know, the fitness level wasn't there. He didn't look like beginning of the season Chicharito, who was just, you know, looking thin and ready to roll and just, you know, firing goals in. It looked like he lost some of that mojo, some of that magic. And so that Colorado game, I said, man, are we going to revert back to 2020 Chicharito? And you saw a little bit of that again, where he's making the right runs. He was playing CDM at some point because he was tracking back, and that's what he was doing last season. He was kind of overcompensating because he couldn't get that goal, so he was trying to do too much instead of just doing what he was expected to do. And so that's where I was a little bit worried. So I'm glad he got the goal, because that is going to help him get that mojo back that he had at the beginning of the season, because you don't want him to fall off a cliff. You want him to continue to get those goals. And you're right. You got to keep feeding him. And you're going to have other players like Leggett, like Joveljic now, like Cabral, who we're going to talk about his expected goals and expected assists. And we'll talk about how they can contribute. But you still have to go through Chicharito and then just hope those opportunities pop up.
The passing chart for the LA Galaxy, again, you can't really take these to heart anymore, especially because they don't sort of track into the second half where the Galaxy play a 4-4-2 with Chicharito, but you do get, you know, Chicharito advanced, you get Grandsir advanced, you get Efrain Alvarez, who certainly pulled out wide and not as advanced as maybe you've seen him. You have Victor Vasquez, who was tucked inside a little bit. Hamalainen's average position there, I would have thought it would be a lot more inside and a lot more forward, but he is forward. Araujo was far forward. I mean, you can see what they do to the defense, and you can see where Raveloson and Jonathan Dos Santos, how they're sort of trying to hold that center, but with Jonathan Dos Santos, you can't do it. You can't. That's not going to work for you. Jonathan Dos Santos is not going to be that guy. He can't be that guy, and I would argue that he might not even be in your starting 11 anymore, your best starting 11. I know you sort of made that argument as well. So, listen, it's disappointing. There's no way to say it. So Larry Morgan's still guessing, by the way. He says his guess is egregious. Did we say?
I got egregious.
Did you say
got
egregious?
That from Larry.
Okay, no.
I don't remember saying it, but or maybe I did. I did say it on the penalty call. But
it was
I've only
egregious.
said it once. Yeah, like, you got to figure out which words keep popping up here.
I can tell you already that we have said this word many, many times already. On
someone
the show.
in the chat was close.
thinking
they were
about
onto
it.
us.
They were thinking about it. They were thinking about it. We'll see. But anyway, so that's sort of where we sit. Do you want to get to let me get to Greg Vanney, and just what he said, and I got to do a couple things here, but just what he said in terms of, hey, you know, it was a missed opportunity, the whole deal. So here's Greg Vanney after the game.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity, especially in a series of games where we're not having many home games. So this is an important game. Obviously, it's a team that, to be fair to them, they played a nice game the other night, and you know, they were difficult to break down once we gave them the lead in the first half. But it's a home game, and it's something we should be getting 3 points out of these games. And I felt like just the intensity in the first half was just way too low. It was too easy for the opposition. Too many sideways passes, back passes. Everything took too long. The intensity to win balls and recover balls, first balls, second balls. Their goal comes off of a second ball that you know, we don't impose ourselves in the challenge, and they get to play the next ball forward through our lines, and it ends up in the back of our net. So it just, for us being at home and this being such an important start, the intensity level at the beginning was didn't have enough urgency, right? And it was like we wanted to play this beautiful passing soccer, but we needed to go impose ourselves on the opposition and set the tone and tempo of the game, and we certainly didn't do that in the first half. I thought
All right, there's we'll cut Greg off there because he'll go on for a while. He doesn't impose. They don't impose themselves. I tweeted this out today. The LA Galaxy are not hard to play against. And somebody said, well, I think if you talk to the teams that we beat, that they would say something. It's like, well, yeah, you beat those teams. Yeah. Ask the Houston Dynamo if the Galaxy were difficult to play against last night. They were not.
Yeah.
They were not.
There's a pretty blue joke out there that if my aunt had something, she'd be my uncle. So
yes.
So of course, broken clock is right 2 times a day. But what I liked most about what Vanny says, he basically confirmed what we were saying at show open, and I think we've beat this Houston draw into the ground. But basically, they tried to play this beautiful passing soccer and they didn't have it on the night. So you're right, he wanted to impose, but that was it. They were trying to make these cute passes and do these one touch dinks and dunks, and it wasn't working. Like you just be direct, make it happen.
Go kick somebody in the shins. Kick somebody in the shins.
Go elbow somebody. Yeah. Yes. Go where Chicha got that cleat mark. That is the absolute worst place to get a cleat. So that's where you want to step on somebody right below the shin guard, above the cleat, just no protection, just pure sock to skin. That is the worst place to get a cleat mark.
All right. That's where we sit. On the goal, by the way, certainly Sega and Steres at fault in that one. I'll say that if you want the scouting report on Sega Koulibaly, just run off his back shoulder. That's all you have to do. Just run off his back shoulder. If he can't see you, he doesn't know you're there. Run off his back shoulder all day long, and Houston was doing that and running in that position all day long. That being said, Sega actually, in terms of rankings, and if you looked on FotMob, he actually had, an okay game. Not great, not horrible, but okay. The defense actually played okay outside of that goal. I know everybody's going to be like, come on, they gave up a goal. It's like, yes, they gave up 1 goal. Remember, this is a team that gives up 3 and 4 goals. They gave up 1.
I think that's our next shirt. World's okayest defense. I think that's gonna. Yeah. So what I think the scouting report for me on Sega, and I think you mentioned going over the back shoulder. To me, he's not whenever anyone gets him 1-on-1, like he's toast. I don't think he has the foot speed. Someone like Araujo, if they're 1-on-1, you like Araujo's chances that he's going to come away with that ball. But if someone has a 1-on-1 opportunity, or they can get in behind Sega, or they just need to run past one player, then they're most likely going to get by him. To me, that's his biggest weakness.
All right, let's get to the Wikipedia guessing game here. We will show you, and I will narrate what I'm about to show you, and then it's your job to guess who this player is. If you're in the chat room and you guess, and you're the first one to guess correctly, you will win. I'll send you something from the thing. You'll just have to message me and send me an email. If you're listening on the podcast, go ahead and send in your guesses, and I will take those and randomize them and whenever it goes in, because literally you could just wait a little bit and get the answer, but I'm still going to do that for the podcast people as well. I like you. It's okay.
Game the system. So I like someone to throw in a wrong guess, and then Josh will say, you know what, this person, they did it honestly. They didn't wait for the answer. They said it, and you still might be considered.
That's
so
that's a good idea.
Throw that out there.
I'm going to give it a run. But now you said that, people were going to guess wrong in order to do it. All right, so here's our game. I think the big one for this that sort of tees it off. I know of 2 players off the top of my head, and I did not research it any further than that, that have played their college soccer at San Diego State. We have a Ventura County Fusion sighting. I know a couple players that have played them throughout the LA Galaxy. So you got Ventura County Fusion, Seattle Sounders, the Wilmington Hammerheads. That one doesn't show up all the time. LA Galaxy 2 and LA Galaxy. Been on the LA Galaxy since 2016. You'd have to go back to 2008 and 2011 to find the San Diego State Aztecs. Who is this player that we are speaking about? 2008 to 2011, the Aztecs. Then you get into their senior career. 2011 to 2012 was the Ventura County Fusion. Seattle Sounders in 2012. 2013, Wilmington Hammerheads. And Feel the Berm. Did Feel the Berm always win these, it feels like? Feel the Berm guesses Steres. Dan Steres.
Irvin also chimed in a little bit after, but I think now the Steres are starting to roll in.
Well, now everybody saw it, so they're just going to write Steres in there as well.
Remember, we're on a little bit of a delay here. We're a little bit ahead, but the San Diego State, I remember when Joe Corona was with the LA Galaxy, and him mentioning that him and Daniel Steres, fellow Aztecs, and so that was a topic of conversation. Ventura County Fusion, I know there's been some connection there. I think Nick DePew was a player who came from there, but then that doesn't line up with when this player joined the Galaxy in 2016.
I think the Seattle Sounders
and
thing
so this-
like sort of can throw people off too. I don't know if
think
there was a whole deal, like that's a whole thing, and then LA Galaxy
That's what made
too.
you pause. Yeah.
And we're like, wait a minute, let me take a look. So Dan Stairs, I threw that in there because everybody loves to hate him, and so I'm just
we love
trolling.
Dan.
I'm trolling now. Now I'm trolling people. I don't care. It's fine.
We love Dan.
I called on Galaxy Reddit. I called Dan Stairs a nuclear cockroach, right? And I meant that, in a very
It's a skill.
That's a skill, right? Is that basically no matter how many coaches have tried to kill off Dan Stairs, right? And he just keeps coming back, baby. He can survive the nuclear blast. He can do all that. Everybody's yelling at him. Everybody's trying to say, no, he's done. That's it. And he just keeps coming back and was the best player, best defender on the field last against Colorado, made team of the week and blah, 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 all this stuff. You can't kill him. He'll just keep coming back. I don't know how long that's going to last. Me keep saying that, but we're getting closer to the end than we are to the beginning of that.
I think the Panda likes saying this, and I think Larry is on board also. But if we just stuck with Dan Romney and
Dave Romney.
Dave Romney, see, that's why they're not on the team because you mix them up. Yeah. Dave Romney and Dan Snares. Now I can't speak. So Dave Romney and Daniel Stairs, we might have been all right, but we had our hopes in maybe Pipo Gonzalez and Diego Polenta. We thought that was going to be the pairing. Derek Williams. Derek Williams, Sega Coulibaly. Well, now we have our center back pairings, and Daniel Stairs just still hanging around and still manages to be there, and we still end up being in good shape. So credit to him. Like we said, that's best ability is availability, right? Did I mess that up?
Yes.
So he's always available.
You got it.
He's always kind of sneaking in there. So,
yes.
Credit to him for always being in the mix.
All right, let's get to you. We said we were going to talk a little bit about some data, and also on LA Galaxy Reddit, somebody posted this, so I went and looked it up and pulled it up. Now, if you're looking on your screens, there's a lot of numbers and a lot of things, but what we want to look at is goals plus assists per 90 minutes and where the LA Galaxy players line up for that. And this may help you in your decision of making your best 11 that we're going to talk about here just in a second. The leader in goals plus assists per 90, and this is not expected goals plus assists. This is actual goals plus assists per 90. I can give you some expected in there as well. But if you look at Javier Chicharito Hernandez, he leads the team, obviously 11 goals. I think he also has an assist. So he basically is averaging 1.07 goals and assists per game. That's a huge number. Anything you get over one is a giant one. Second on the team, Joveljic, 0.9. That's huge. I mean, you cannot discount that. So keep that in mind for your best. Victor Vasquez is third. So everybody who wants to bury Victor Vasquez, he has been integral to scoring goals and assisting for the LA Galaxy this year. That shouldn't surprise you. Ravelison, with all the goals he scored, playing in the central defensive midfielder at 0.4. Leggett at 0.37. So again, everybody wants to throw Sebastian Leggett under the bus saying he's not contributing. He is contributing. And this tells you that he's in that top portion of the LA Galaxy in terms of goals and assists and what he's providing. So, I don't know quite honestly, I think this helps a little bit to look at it. Efrain Alvarez, we just yelled at him. He's near that top as well. Sasha Kleshin comes in there. Kevin Cabral, still 0.31 goals plus assists per 90. Not great. By the way, if you go to Kevin Cabral and you look at his expected, his expected is 0.5. So he is, no surprise, he's underperforming in sort of where he's going. You look at Chicharito, he's at 0.86 on expected, right? So 1.07 to 0.86. That's where you can look at that and say, okay, he's overperforming. Guess what? Good players overperform, bad players underperform. Kevin Cabral is underperforming his expected and sort of where it looks. These are the things that you need to keep in mind. I want to point out something to you, though. A guy who makes a starting lineup an awful lot of time, but is injured a lot of the time as well, is one of the worst goals and assists per 90s, and the defenders have him beat in a lot of these. Jonathan Dos Santos is one of those guys. And so Jonathan Dos Santos...
Is that surprising, though?
No.
Given how the conversation we were just having about him having a pretty rough season and not being able to contribute, and in addition to him being out quite a bit, that doesn't surprise me based on what our eyeballs have shown us this season.
Yeah, it doesn't. But again, this sort of tells you. So now we have that information. We're locked in with that information. Do you want to start with your best 11, Eric? Or do you
my best 11 is of the people, so I think I'll go with it because after yesterday, I think this is gave us some ideas on what can be the best 11, and to me, this is the best 11 you can put out. I think obviously Jonathan Bond is who you have as your number one in the back there. In the back, I like what Villafania brings, so I'd put him out there on the left, and then with Nico Hamalainen, as that option, that floater coming in off the bench. Then Williams and Stairs, to me, I've enjoyed that pairing the best. I think Sega has shown to be a little bit more of a liability in recent games, and then obviously Araujo outright. That's the lock of all locks. If you're going to put a starting lineup, that's the easiest pick anyone is ever going to do there. In the midfield, this is where it gets a little bit spicy. I have Leggett and Raveloson in the middle, with Leggett occupying more of that 10 spot, or maybe that third striker kind of pulled back, that false 9 type of player, kind of trailing behind the forwards. That's where I would like to see him play, where he would be most effective. That's where he's very effective with the national team. And then Raveloson kind of playing that 6 and breaking things up and distributing and then getting forward when necessary. And then I like our League 2 guys. I think Cabral and Grandsur on the outside, with their speed and with their skill, I think they can create a lot of havoc out there. And then I want to see Joveljic and Chicharito together. Chicharito this season has been on an island quite a bit. They've been able to feed him and been able to get him a lot of opportunities, and that's why he has the goals that he has. But getting him a partner up there, I think, is crucial. And I think Joveljic showed that he wants to play with him. He showed that he can play well with him. And then when you talk about goals per 90, you want to maximize it. So to me, sure, you can start Chicharito and say, well, we'll have this great player, Joveljic, that we can bring off the bench, but then you're getting 60 minutes of Chicharito and then 30 minutes of Joveljic. But why not maximize it? To me, it's simple math. Give them as many combined minutes as possible. Joveljic and Chicharito, put them out there for a combined 70 minutes, and then if you need Ethan Zubak to come in and clean up the scraps and kind of get those vulture minutes at the end, you've had 60 or 70 minutes to put balls in the back of the net. And so to me, I think that's your best 11.
Did you just say in order to go to the bench, you're going to pull Ethan Zubak off the bench in order to fill in whenever you've exhausted your 2 strikers?
Well, you're up 2-3-0 at that point.
Is that
so you lock it down?
What if you're not?
Then
you're in trouble.
You play to win. You play to win the game, Joshua.
Well, I don't know if you do. See, this is the only problem I have with this, is that I get this, and in a second half, certainly against Houston, when you need a goal, this seems like something that you should absolutely try to fit yourself into and go for this. I understand why people want to see this, and I get it, but Greg Vanney is going to look at where he can go, and where you go from this is you go from strength, which you have on the field, to not strength.
The wheels falling off.
And you have to rely on somebody like Zubak coming in. Listen, you can do other things, you can move things around, but you're not going to be able to transition into this best thing.
So my rebuttal to you is you can shift Cabral up front, bring Vasquez in. Vasquez was the hardest one I had leaving off this lineup because I like what he brings. But I think him coming off the bench late and creating passes, if you need someone to create at the end, Vasquez is definitely a type of guy that you could bring in and then shift Cabral up top.
Yeah, I kind of agree. By the way, Roger says no Koulibaly in the back line. Are you elevating Dan Steres over Sega Koulibaly?
I am, but it's a coin flip. Catch me on a different day, and I might say Koulibaly. But right now, I think Koulibaly has shown to be a little bit of a liability. So I have Stairs ahead of him right now. But maybe after this Minnesota game, something happens, and I have Sega back in the lineup, and or maybe Williams does something unimpressive and finds his way the other direction. I think those 3 CBs, no one's taken a stranglehold of that spot this season, unfortunately.
No, yeah, and I think certainly Sega has proven to be a little bit of a liability in recent times. All right, let's go to Josh's then. I will go back in sort of a 4-2-3-1, and this morphs into so many different things that you can do, and certainly I think that there's ability in this lineup at least to have some flexibility in it, and certainly people coming off the bench, there is a chance to get it, and this is more of what we've seen so far with Villafania. And listen, I think Nico Hamalainen is a better outside left back in some instances than what Villafania does. Villafania plays defense though, and I can live with the defensive side and bring Hamalainen in off the bench. That to me makes a whole bunch of sense because he has speed, he's versatile, he should be able to go. And so, I like the change of pace that you're able to bring in with Hamalainen coming off a bench, than maybe anything else, and trying to, tire him out over 90. Maybe that doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Maybe eventually you sit there and say, listen, these guys are going to rotate throughout the whole thing. Here's the other thing that I'm argue about the best 11 for this LA Galaxy down the stretch is, and I think this is cheating, and that's why I'm going to do it, is that the Galaxy have back-to-back games throughout the rest of this season. There are 10 games, and there are not a whole bunch of breaks between them. You're not going to be able to play everybody together. You're going to need to be able to bring people in off the bench. And so for me, Chicharito can't go 90 minutes for every game if you're playing 3 games in a week. So that means that Joveljic is going to have to go. That means Joveljic can't go 3 games, at 90 minutes up top as well. So I think there's an ability to switch into what, Eric, you had with the 4-4-2. And I like that, but I'm telling you that I think Vanny will be more practical in how he starts. And so in my mind, if I'm going to be practical and want the most flexibility, to me, this gives me a lot of flexibility. I have Villafana, Williams, Steres, and Rajo. Again, Koulibaly's sort of making me angry right now, so he's not in my starting.
He's in the doghouse.
Yeah, Raveloson and Leggett. It could be Raveloson and Vasquez, but it certainly is not Raveloson and Jonathan Dos Santos. And I think that that's obvious and clear right now. You have Cabral on the left-hand side, Vasquez sort of in the middle. And, listen, could Leggett go up and play in that spot and Vasquez come back? Sure. I have no problems with that. Do whatever you want. Those guys can switch however they want. They're smart enough to do that.
And even Raveloson has shown that he can
go for
a heck of an attacking player as well. You have that triangle. We saw it a little bit with Corona, Leggett, Dos Santos when they were on it a couple of years ago. That was a nice little triangle. They all kind of went forward and tracked back at different times. And I think these 3 that you have that could be a Bermuda triangle that's spinning there in the middle, and would be happy with that.
And then Grandsir outright, and then Chicharito. I think you have to start Chicharito. I think he starts, every game.
That's a no-brainer. That's the other lock.
Yeah,
if he's healthy.
And if he's healthy, and listen, I expect there's going to be rotation. I do expect that he won't start every game, but I think you should try to get him to start as many games as you can, and Joveljic can come in. Then, Eric, I have no problems with, you need a goal, let's go to the 4-4-2, that's fine. Or, hey, you're up by a couple goals, stay in the same formation, sub Joveljic in for the last 45 minutes, let him sort of do the hard work that Chicharito doesn't need to do all the time, and
put your extra defender in there,
I think
your third center back in there, sub Chicharito off if you're up. I think that's a way to do it.
I think that whenever we look at best 11s, you always want to put quote unquote the best players on there, and I get that, and I would just caution you with
that's why yours is cheating.
It is.
You said best 11. I gave you the best 11.
And I would just say, where do you go from there? Right,
which is fair.
And I get that from Greg Van, because that's how Greg Vanny's going to look at it, right? Because what I don't want is everybody to be upset and be like, why isn't the 4-4-2 being played every single game? He's not going to play the 4-4. Everybody. Yeah. I think Pam in the chat room. By the way, she was angry. She said she got it first. She got Steres first, and that my screen is the one that counts over here. I saw her. She took a photo of it and everything. She was right on her screen. She was definitely first, not on my screen though. So I checked it. But Pam said, do you start Joveljic and Chicharito up together in Minnesota? And I saw the chat room being like, absolutely, that's what should happen. I'm like, absolutely not on the road, not the third game of 3. That can't happen in my mind.
I think you almost go back to what you did at Colorado with the 5 in the back or the 3 in the back, however you look at it. That might be how you want to go and steal the points there. So I like the idea of doing that. My one concern when we talk about best 11s, we saw the midfield yesterday that was shaky. They didn't have the chemistry. They weren't playing well together. My concern is whatever your best 11 is, I understand you can't start them in back-to-back 3 games in a row, but Vanny needs to decide what that best 11 is and start getting them reps. Because if they're not getting reps together and playing well, you want to see a best 11 playing all together at some point. And I don't think we've seen it yet. If we're going to go into the postseason, peak at the right time. You want to start seeing these best 11s show up, and so that way when the playoffs come, you're able to put that maximum lineup out there and maximize the points that you need, because I haven't seen a best 11 that's gelled and looked great. I know we can point out which games have been the Galaxy's best games, but I haven't seen that all-star performance this season yet. I haven't seen the signature LA Galaxy game that we've been waiting for.
No.
Which could be a good sign, because it's coming.
I think it's interesting. What if we ask the question about lineups like this? You have to win one game. You're a playoff team. You have to win one game. What's your starting lineup for that one game? And I still will tell you that I don't know that I put the
Still
two
like
up
yours.
top, right?
All right.
Like even let's
Give yourself an out. Yeah, I'm putting it all out there.
You are.
That's the type of guy I am. I'm just gonna.
That's
I'm
right.
You're gonna know where in 60 minutes you'll know what the result of the game will be.
Best 11. That was good. No, that's not the secret word either. Do we get a prize if we make it all the way through? By this time, I expected everybody to already have it.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Yeah.
We notice when we're saying it every single time. I have to feel that you guys. I mean, we're probably like
I'm trying
50
not
or
to
60,
overdo it
yeah,
either.
I know,
Yeah,
50 or 60 times.
But it's not the word everyone expected. I can guarantee you that.
No, I don't think it is. I think they were over here. All right. So let's go to sort of closing up some of this stuff and obviously the weekly schedule. It's Thursday. They train this morning. They will do a walk through Friday morning, basically training in the AM. They will leave for Minnesota on the afternoon, fly to Minnesota, and then the game is at 5 p.m. at Allianz Field. This game against Minnesota, we've talked about it. The Galaxy have never lost to Minnesota ever. So it's an interesting one from that sort of standpoint. Let's get to the schedule of what's coming up here just one more time because I like to torture everybody. Minnesota away coming up on Saturday, and then you're going to have Austin away. LAFC went there and scraped out a win. They got a pretty easy penalty kick in that one as well. So, but Austin is not a good team, but it's a difficult place to play. Galaxy need to look to pick up points at Minnesota, pick up points at Austin. I mean, listen, I'm not going to be upset if they continue to draw all these games. I honestly think that moves them in a certain position, moves them in the direction.
Well, last week before the month, it was either the beginning. It was before they played their first game in September, and we gave a prediction.
Somebody guessed the
Someone
word.
has it.
Somebody has it. Eduardo, you need to send me an email, cornerofthegalaxy@gmail.com. You, sir, have guessed the word correctly. It is expected. That was the first time I've seen it. Yeah. Somebody was close, by the way. They're like, I've been hearing expected. Yeah, maybe it was Eduardo, but somebody's like, I've been expected is starting to be a little bit curious. And I'm like, oh, is it? Is it being? It is. There it is. So expected is
nice work, Eduardo.
Is there. Good job, Eduardo. Congratulations. Thank you.
It is what he expected.
That is the first very secret word game that has ever been won here on Corner of the Galaxy. So congratulations, Eduardo. I'm going to make a plaque in this room. I won't. And I'm going to put your name on it. I'm not going to do that. And you're going to be the top name right there. And every time I record, I'm not going to do any of that. Your name will be right at the top. So thank you, sir, for playing. Send me an email. I'll send you something nice. Anyway, get through this. But what were you saying, Eric? Sorry, didn't mean to.
I was saying, if they drew all the way through, when we were planning, we said, if they got 6 points for the month, maybe that wouldn't be terrible. So if they draw all these games, that's 5 points. It's not awful. It keeps them on pace. Maybe they fall out of that top 4 spot. I think the top 3 have run away with it, but the bottom 5 to 7 aren't. They're not within the Galaxy's range either. So if they can keep 5 points over the stretch, I think they still maintain that number 4 spot. It's not gonna be devastating. So let's tie our way through September. I don't think that'd be awful.
It absolutely is. It's one of those. Fun
and I will say, and if you lose in Minnesota and lose in Austin, but win that Real Salt Lake, you still end up with 5 points. So maybe you end up with those points anyway. It's just in an unexpected way.
Oh man, people will lose it. They will go nuts. If we look into October and September as well, 3 home games in October, which is good. 3 of 5 played at home in October. That's good. But you're against LAFC. You're against Portland, which should be a winnable game. You're against Dallas, which should be a winnable game. You're away to Houston, maybe a winnable game. Maybe not. The Galaxy don't win in Houston. That doesn't happen. Kansas City, huge game. That is going to be super tough. Imagine the LA Galaxy are still fighting for that 4th spot and that they're going to go to Kansas City with just 3 games left and trying to get a result from that game. That'll be a super interesting one. So,
and the other wrinkle there is, depending on the top of the standings, Kansas City may be trying to fight for a first round bye. And so that's why that game gets real. That's a real nasty one too. Same with Seattle, which immediately follows that SKC game.
I'm going to tell you something very, very, very outside the box here, and I'll probably end up being wrong. New England absolutely running away with the Supporters Shield. They are No, I'm going to get to my controversial view here in a second.
I was going to say,
absolutely,
that's not a hot take. I hate to break it to you.
yeah, absolutely running away with the Supporters Shield. Bruce Arena, they're averaging 2.2 points per game, on pace to be the best record ever in Major League Soccer history. Of course, they haven't played any Western Conference teams. So I'm going to tell you my hot take is they are the second best team in the Eastern Conference. Nashville's the best team.
Wow.
I'm telling you, Nashville.
Bold.
Hey, has New
like
England beaten Nashville? The answer is no. Has Nashville beaten New England? The answer is yes. Eduardo, by the way, gave us a $10 super chat for the plaque that I'm not going to put up in the office. For the plaque
Pay
going
for
up
your
in
own
the office.
plaque. That's how we roll around here.
All I can think of is Top Gun. I heard the plaque for the alternates is in the ladies' room. Anyway, that's just no. There's 2 O's in Goose Boys. I'll be here all night if we keep this up. 55 points New England, 41 points Nashville. Nashville. I bet Nashville ends up in the Eastern Conference as the Eastern Conference's MLS Cup. One. That's guaranteed. I'm telling you right now. Nashville. That's the lock. That's the stone cold. Go bet it. Nashville's a lot of fun. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah,
No?
I'm with you. I can get on board Nashville being that kind of undercover team. And there's something, I don't like Boston. I don't like New England. I would love to see them, win the Supporters Shield and then completely flub it when it matters most. That would make me happy. Feel bad for Bruce, but at the same time, you're in New England. I don't like you. Moving on.
They are Nashville's my team in the Eastern Conference. I'm telling you, they're going. In the Western Conference, hey, did you realize that Sporting Kansas City took over the first place in the Western Conference? I didn't notice that until this morning.
With the shellacking of Minnesota.
Yeah, 4-0. One of the best uses of the video board probably in history is the Sporting Kansas City video board operator putting up, "We apologize. We ran out of fireworks because we've scored too many goals. Thank you for direct
so
all issues to at SKC." It was great. It was a lot of fun to sort of see that. But they smacked Minnesota. I guess that's bad for the LA Galaxy because this game was over relatively early. I have to imagine Minnesota just sort of like tucked in and said, "Okay, I'm not going to run that hard for the rest of this game."
And also looking at the lineup that they put up against Sporting Kansas City, and it's weird because that was a home game for Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was SKC was home.
SKC, you're right. You just said the board.
Yeah.
So, but it looked like Minnesota threw out their lineup to the Wolves. Speaking of best 11, this was not Minnesota's best 11 that they put out there. With Robin Laud being a player who they, who they're big on, and Reynoso's another one, Emmanuel Reynoso. They weren't in the lineup or not in the starting lineup. So it seems like they put out their secondary lineup and hoped for the best, and obviously it didn't turn out. So the Minnesota team that got spanked by SKC, that's not who the Galaxy are going to go up and play. You're going to get a different team who may be a little bit upset about what happened, and you're going to get better players on the field to go against. So expect a tough road match in Minnesota.
You mean they rotated players? I thought the Galaxy were the only team that rotated its players. Nobody told me. I didn't know.
Fair enough.
Supporter Shield standings, the LA Galaxy actually moved up one spot. They were in 7th. They're in 6th now. They basically tied and overtook Orlando. I don't know how that happened. It was probably, it's on wins. I think wins is the first tiebreaker. Galaxy have 11. Orlando has 10, but the Galaxy are in 6th right now. New England in 1st. Sporting Kansas City in 2nd. Seattle in 3rd. Colorado in 4th. 5th is Nashville. And then you have the LA Galaxy in 6th. I always do the top 14 because there's 27 teams, so that means it gets me more than half of the line. Atlanta just made an appearance above that halfway line after catching fire. Guess what? You get Joseph Martinez back, and all of a sudden, you're ready to rock and roll a little bit. LAFC also popping into that discussion as well at 33 points. So there's a lot to fight for in the Western Conference, certainly, and in the Eastern Conference. But I will tell you, once again, the best teams are in the Western Conference. So for me right now, if I'm guessing, MLS Cup is won by a Western Conference team. I think Sporting Kansas City may be that team this year, although I'll say that I would fear going against Seattle more than I would against Sporting Kansas City. To me, Seattle still has it, and I imagine that they're going to get back to where they need to be relatively shortly. And Colorado stumbled as well. I mean, Colorado is not perfect. They drew with the Galaxy at home, and I think they drew with San Jose in a wild. I think that was the San Jose game was the wild game, one of the wild games in this one. So.
But Colorado also has a couple games in hand to catch up to where Kansas City is right now too. So that's also something to consider, that with a couple wins, Colorado could be right back up top where they were once they made up some of those wins before.
Yeah, Seattle is going to be a tough team. 23 games played for Seattle, by the way. 24 for the Galaxy, 25 for Sporting Kansas City. They're ones that have 25, so they have the most points. That's why the 1.84. If you look at it in the Western Conference, it is Seattle who still has the points per game edge. 1.96 on that. So yeah, I mean, it'll all shake out here relatively soon. So Seattle for me is that team that's probably I don't know. I feel like, listen, Peter Vermees always does really well. He'll do really well. He'll get them to where they need to be. Sporting Kansas City is going to be a very, very difficult game to play for the Galaxy, and it's towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that's always going to make it even ratchet up everything a little bit more. You want to talk about this Minnesota game? Because we've been sort of dancing around it for most of the time. All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were wanted me to take the lead. I was like, wow, Josh, letting someone else have an opportunity to speak on his show. This is incredible.
Go ahead. No, the LA Galaxy take on Minnesota United coming up Saturday, September 18th. It's a 5 p.m. kickoff. Actually, 5:08 p.m. kickoff is the exact time. Spectrum Sportsnet is where you can find this at Allianz Field. The LA Galaxy 11-8-5, 38 points. Minnesota 8-7, 31 points. If you look at Minnesota's home record, they've had 20 points at home. The Galaxy have 23 points at home. So you can sort of see how that goes. Minnesota has not been good on the road. No surprise there. And in the last 5 games, the Galaxy have had 3 points, Eric. Minnesota has had 5 points. So neither of these teams setting the world on fire in their last 5 games. Galaxy winless in their last 5, undefeated in their last 3, though. Spin that.
Yeah, that's how if you want to spin it, that's how it's done.
And Minnesota is on a 2-game losing streak. Their last loss, of course, 4-0 to Sporting Kansas City over the weekend, or over the midweek. That was the midweek game on Wednesday, just yesterday. I was watching that game before the Galaxy game started. So, travel, player rotation, injuries. There's all these things that are sort of coming in. I think the Galaxy got pretty much unscathed in the game. So outside of Williams and outside of Bond, I don't expect either of them back for this game. Just too short of a turnaround. And as far as I'm concerned, they don't want to put them on the road yet. They'll probably go to Austin. There's a little bit more time in that. But this is, Patrick in our chat room has said it so many times that the playoffs have already started, right? And I agree in a lot of sense. And so you have to sort of have that mentality in mind, is that you're going to get these points to be in the playoff. You talk about not peaking too soon, Eric. The Galaxy need to peak. They need to peak. Peaking now would be just fine with that.
Yes, agree. I think I would go against the playoffs have already started, because I think a lot can happen between now and the beginning of the playoffs. But absolutely, but you can do enough to shoot yourself in the foot, to put yourself in a bad scenario where we talked about end of the season where maybe you need a draw. You need to eke out a draw because you can stay above that home playoff line, but you're playing against a Kansas City or Seattle who needs that first round bye. So then you put yourself in a bad situation when you could have gotten 3 points at home against Houston or gotten some points against Austin. Those points could have been very valuable later in the season. So I understand the sentiment, but then you get back into, well, then the regular season is the playoffs, because all the points matter. The points in March are worth just as much as the points in October. But I understand the pressure is caked on now, and you definitely want to see the team start to gel, start to see that chemistry start flowing. We haven't seen it yet, so I like, I'll be a homer in the regard that I think we're still yet to see the Galaxy's best game this season, and we will see it later on.
The Commercial Underground has your new new T-shirt. Don't peak too late. Don't peak.
There you go.
Don't peak too soon. Don't peak too late.
Don't peak too late. Just peak.
Just peak. It's
just
time.
peak it.
It's time. It's time to peak. By the way, people are going to guess that peak is the secret word. No, we already said what the secret word was. It was good. It was good. I would really like to go through and actually like ding all the times we said it, because I know we said it a whole bunch. Anyway, that's where we said. So you talked about Robin Laud, certainly one of their better players. Reynoso, one of their better players. I mean, Tyler Miller has 7 shutouts this year as well. I mean, it's not they don't have the best record, but he has 7 shutouts. That's not a horrible, way to sort of, look at Minnesota. They're playing at home. They're a better team at home. I said last time that I didn't think the Galaxy would go in there, and they went in there in the last. By the way, the last time the LA Galaxy won a game. Oh, hey, what do you know? It was against Minnesota.
Against Minnesota. Since then, yeah. Since
then, 1-0 on the road, and so you want to see it has to be a. it has to be a similar effort. You have to go in, you have to get the goal, and then you're going to have to fight for, to sort of defend and hold that off. Another shutout would be huge because I think we would see that the Galaxy are making progress on defense. I know people don't want to believe it, but this is a team that gave up a whole bunch of goals, and they've only given up one goal in their last 2 games. There's something.
One goal per game.
One goal per game in each of those. There's something there. It feels like maybe they're moving, and if you can tell me that the Galaxy are only going to give up 1 goal for the rest of the season for these next 10, you might
take my money. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's getting there something. So we can look at that and say that that's the types of performances that you're going to need. And being on the road lends itself to that as well. And you talked about a 5-man back line. Maybe it's something that the LA Galaxy think about doing again, because defense first is going to be a thought process here on the road.
And if you remember that game against Minnesota, that was the Jonathan Klinsmann show when he got the start and he was on fire in that game. Minnesota had a lot of chances and they put a lot of shots on target. It's just Jonathan Klinsmann was on it that night. So if they get a better defensive performance, then, Klinsmann or, like you said, you don't expect Bond to be there, but their goalkeeper shouldn't be as busy if they put in a better defensive performance. And then, now you have Joveljic, who you didn't have. I don't think he was he there for the last Minnesota game? Or was he after that? Joveljic?
Joveljic. He was. I think he was there. No, was he?
He might have been.
He might have been there. Yeah, I think
we'll
he was
fact
there.
check.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was he expected to be there? Anyway, so I can see this, where the strategy is to steal a point, but the way the Galaxy are playing right now, you go with what I've been seeing, and I'm not seeing that magical, that thing clicking. Maybe they can steal a point, but I see Minnesota coming in upset that they just lost. They're at home. They know they lost the last time at home, and I have a bad feeling about it.
Houston won 1 game in their last 18. All right. And they're starting to turn it around. I mean, they played well against Austin. They played well against the Galaxy. Any team can start to click and start to put things together. The LA Galaxy need to start to click and start to put things together. They need to find that balance somewhere between playing beautiful passing soccer, as Greg Vanny says, and, sticking their cleats into somebody's ankle. There has to be something going on with the Galaxy. There has to be that recognition of energy, right? And they were lacking energy. They were lacking that decisiveness. They didn't look like they knew where they were supposed to be in that first half, and that was in the more comfortable lineup. They went to a 4-4-2, and they put some other players on the field. I think Sebastian Lletget certainly helped settle that down as well. All those things matter. All of these things matter building up. There has to be a confidence going into the playoffs. If Bruce's teams, and I looked at the overall charts and looked at, sort of where the LA Galaxy are. Overall, the Galaxy are in a good position. They're in a very familiar position with 38 points through 24 games. You can see teams that have made the playoffs in this exact position. If you go back to 2019, they had 1 less point at this particular point. Now, lose a game against Minnesota. Okay, yeah, you can change all those things and they could sort of even out. But the bottom line is these draws are bad because you wanted to win at home, but they're progressing things, but you're not getting the confidence, and the Galaxy can't draw their way into the playoffs if they actually want to do something in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's not peaking. Drawing your way into the playoffs is not peaking, and so that's the tough thing about it. So,
find something.
We'll see where it ends up. Find something and get that flow going. We'll see.
Find something. Let Chicha get you all fired up. Let him give you what I think Greg goes, Chicha, go ahead. We got 10 minutes before we have to head out there, so it's all yours.
Yeah, and where I was going is there's a bit of a fine line with this too, because you want the team to be patient, so you don't want them, if you put on the afterburners, the Guillermo Barros Schelotto, attack, you're going to wear yourself out and you're going to be exposed and later in the game. But at the same time, you saw the Galaxy against Houston, they'd have an opportunity to counter or to attack, and then they'd cycle the ball backward. And so I understand you want to be patient and not force things, but there's also a certain point where you got to attack, you got to move forward. You can't be too patient, and so that's what I didn't like at home against Houston. On the road, I don't know that. On the road, I can see the strategy: pass it back, be patient, wait for your moment, and then attack when necessary. But at home, you can throw caution to the wind a little bit more, and so that was what I didn't see against Houston. Maybe we'll see it on another home game, or if they're feeling spicy, I saw some people say spicy might be the word. They can try it in Minnesota as well.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a secret about the LA Galaxy. And I've been telling it, but I don't know that people have been listening. So everybody come close here for a second. We're going to end it with this. The LA Galaxy are a better counterattacking team they are really a possession-based team and building up some of those long plays that we've seen. And we've seen that over and over again. That's clear.
Look at the games they've won. It's the games where they've been outpossessed. And so look at this last game, a game where they had possession and they didn't look good. So you're 100. I'm on the Josh train. I'm on the counterattack train.
So what works better is whenever you're on the road, you can play that counterattacking style, right?
Correct.
That makes sense. So this fits into what the Galaxy really do want to do. All right, this does fit in. So the LA Galaxy, I think, are 6-0-2 against Minnesota all time. Is that right? Yeah, 6-0-2. So they've never lost. They've had 2 draws. They've had 6 wins. There may even be a playoff win that's not counted in that as well. Saying all of that, the Galaxy have every reason to believe that they can go in there and play the same game that they played against Minnesota before, with maybe a little more defensive acumen there. And come away winners of this game. There are points to be had on the road from here on out for the rest of October or
there
September.
Better be.
Yeah.
There better be, because that's all that's left is just road games. But you know who doesn't believe?
Who?
538.
538.
Do you want to hear?
Yeah. Hit me. 538. This 538 has been so wrong lately. It's been so much fun. Go ahead. Yes, 538.
They once again are not a fan of the Galaxy. They have Minnesota with a 54% chance to win. Mm-hmm. The Galaxy only with a 21% chance to win, and then a 25% chance for a draw. Not the biggest margin. The last few weeks that I've been doing this, the Galaxy have had the biggest margin to lose it. So they're not the smallest margin to lose it this time, but still not great. You know, whenever you start to see, if you ever go to the 538 website, when you see dark orange, that's a bad sign.
That's a bad sign, yeah.
When you're not the team that's in dark orange. Right, so not looking good for the LA Galaxy. Same with the, Bovada. If you're betting on it, they have Minnesota at minus 105, the Galaxy plus 265. So
love it.
If you're feeling into the Galaxy,
love it.
Put some money on it. Bet with your heart, or a draw. You plus 280. That's where you really make your money.
Make your money on that.
Put your money on a draw.
I love that. That's
1-1 draw.
That's a good one. I think the Galaxy win this 2-1. I think that Chicharito scores both of the goals. They get them early, and they hold off Minnesota where he is. He's fired up. He's ready to go. He's got passion. You heard him at the beginning of the show. He wants it. It's time. Unleash the beast. Chicharito's is out. What's your score prediction there?
I'm drawing my way through September. 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw.
I think they get one, but they also let one in.
All right, we're going to get out of here. Tell people where they can find you. Let's roll.
All right, as always, you can find me on Twitter at HammerEV. You can also find me on Instagram at Galaxy Profile. That's Galaxy PROFOUL.
If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over, cornerthegalaxy.com. Articles, videos, podcasts, all that fun stuff, cornerthegalaxy.com. If you're our winners, if you're not our winners, email me. I'll throw you into a random draw. Just make sure you guess our right. What was the Wikipedia game? That's it. Guess the right person. Dan Stairs. Or don't.
Type in Dan Stairs.
There you go. That's how it works. All right. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Patrick Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerthegalaxy.com. Have a wonderful, safe weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.